Hi, this is Mark. Welcome back to our free course to bring you up to speed to become an early adopter of Bitcurrency. To join the growing group of people positioned on the right side at the right time for the greatest wealth transfer in the history of the world. I'm leading you in 5 simple lessons in a crash course to become a Bitcurrency adopter for free. In our first lesson, A, to accept how it is, we painted a picture of how money and banking works, as well as the perennial tendencies of banks and governments to create inflation by printing money, and for banks to abuse their trust role by charging abusive fees in their position as toll gates in financial transactions. Today, we have a happier topic. There is a new technology based on math and software that restores control of money back to we the people, and it takes it away from central authorities. This is noteworthy time in human existence because for millennium, institutions and governments have sought to control money and indirectly have taken control of the fruits and savings of our labor. With this new Bitcurrency decentralized system, each of us again can be entirely responsible for making choices of how to capture the value and energy of our labor and production. This doesn't mean that everyone will spend, save, and invest wisely or prudently, but it does mean that we no longer will lose value due to inflation or centralized oppressive legislation. So what is Bitcoin and its cousin cryptocurrencies, which we call collectively Bitcurrency? It has many aspects to it, but a few key components. Like using your microwave, you don't need to know how it works, but you do need to understand what it can accomplish. So here's some of the benefits of Bitcurrency. 1. Trust. Formerly, we discussed in the last lesson that we required a centralized third-party, trusted authority to stand in the middle of every financial transaction. Because 2 strangers didn't trust each other, we solved the problem of moving money between them in the past by introducing a trusted middleman, a bank or a credit card company. Trust was formerly provided by a company, and we were stuck with using them and paying their fees. Bitcurrency, though, assumes that no one using it has trust in one another. So it provides trust to both parties by trusting in the software protocol. Trust is in the certainty of math, and that replaces trust in an institution. We trust in a system of unchanging rules that are executed as software, reliably, impersonally, and without any bias or concern for race, gender, color, ethnicity, political preference, or social standing. Everyone participating gets the same shake, the same service. Math doesn't get greedy or deceptive or secretive. Number 2, it's internet-based. Bitcurrency rides the rails of the internet. Its reach is global, and it's available 24/7, 365 for close to no cost. Functionally, it turns a money transfer or banking transaction into the simplicity of a text or email on a computer or a smartphone. It bypasses the need to ask for permission from some central authority. It's your money. You decide if, when, or where you want to send it. 3. It's decentralized. Bitcurrency is global, instantaneous, and most important, it's something that we call peer-to-peer in the computer business. Software tokens or coins that hold value are secured in a computer program called a wallet that each individual controls. There are no banks or toll gates or bridge tolls or credit card companies involved. You control the value that you hold yourself, and you can choose to hold it or send it to anyone, anywhere, at any time for no cost. Just as sending an email or text is at your discretion, it's up to you, and it requires no permission or authority company's approval, sending Bitcurrency money is similarly secure, trusted, private, and in your hands. It is the email of banking transfers. It is the internet of money, requiring no banks, no central banks, and no government. 4. Fixed supply. A stabilizing feature of past gold and silver-backed currencies was that these precious metals were valuable, scarce, and rare. Similarly, digital Bitcurrency has a scarcity programmed into it. There can be no new tokens or units created, which solves the huge historical tendency of banks and governments to dilute and print more money, stealing value from holders. Bitcurrency is the opposite of fiat money. As more value and interest comes into the Bitcurrency world, the value of each unit increases. Savings, again, becomes a reality, allowing us to store and actually increase the stored value of our energy and labor. 5. Personal control and personal responsibility. We discussed in Lesson 1 that money is a store of our labor, of hours of our work, bottled up to spend when and as we want. Bitcurrency restores ownership and control of our labor and value back to each of us. It also restores responsibility to each of us. We no longer think in terms of having a bank account. We each literally have a bank. In summary, Bitcurrency is as easy to use as email. It puts the ownership and responsibility of holding and saving money back in the hands of each of us to own and control the value of our labor. It is anti-inflationary, decentralized, always open, feeless, global, and potentially even increasing in value, especially if one becomes involved at this early time. Early adopters. In 1995, the Internet was still young, and it's estimated that between 1 to 3% of the world had any involvement in it. By 2000 and the dot-com boom, nearly 40% of the world was involved with it. We each have the same opportunity today to be among the 2% of the world who embrace and uses Bitcurrency. We are, on our team, the early adopters, and we are effectively in the same position with the Internet of Money that folks were when Google, Facebook, and eBay were conceived. In 2017, the Bitcurrency world grew by well over 1,000%. That's a 10x growth in 1 year, 10 times. It will continue to grow briskly for the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. In the somewhat near future, you might remember back reading this and congratulate yourself for being an early adopter, ahead of the prophet and ahead of the crowd. There is money to be made, but more important, and my purpose for creating this free course, is that you and I have the opportunity to reclaim sound money and the value of our labor and our savings from a crumbling, abusive, dying financial system that has enslaved us for decades. We can opt to be free, in personal control, and to take personal responsibility for ourselves and the fruits of our labor, without the slow drain of inflation, without excessive bank fees, without zero-interest savings, and a host of other insults. We now have a choice: Bitcurrency, the Internet of Money. I don't expect you to move all your finances and savings over to Bitcurrency. Whether you do or not is your business. I have no gain or incentive or profit from your actions or inactions. But I do invite you, and my hope is that you will, as part of our team of adopters, we'll get started with Bitcurrency soon, even today, and just experience it. We'll discuss how in the next lesson. Think of taking $100 or even $50 or even $20 and learn enough to set up this value in the new world of Bitcurrency. Be an early adopter. You can even do it and then forget about it. Once you listen to these lessons and absorb and consider these facts, you can't unlearn what you've read. And you can't unlearn how you learned to get started. A few days or weeks or months from now, someone will offer to pay you in Bitcurrency or to transfer some digital currency to you, and you'll be ahead of the curve. You'll see how easy and effortless and free it is. You'll be motivated because you'll be collecting money that is due to you, and you'll go to check the value of your Bitcurrency balance and find that the $100 you received is now $118. And you'll finally remember that you used to earn interest on your savings account at the bank long, long ago. You'll look at $100 that you still have in a traditional bank and realize that it hasn't been working for you. It's still $100. And you might have an epiphany that it is stupid to keep your money in a traditional bank earning nothing, distanced from your own control, when it could be growing and working for you under your control in the world of Bitcurrency. Years ago, we used to get billed by the minute for long-distance calls on our telephone landline. Suddenly, we shifted. We realized that it made more sense to call everywhere for free on our mobile phone. You'll make a Bitcurrency transaction from your phone, in your pajamas, securely, instantly, and without the nuisance of a credit card or bank approval. Suddenly, the idea of explaining banker's hours or swiping cards or holds on your deposit will seem archaic, kind of like explaining rotary phones to a teenager. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the value of Bitcurrency will probably soar. As I said, I think that reclaiming honest, sound digital money is enough reason to come with me on this journey and to become an early adopter. But here's a quick thought. Bitcurrency, of all different flavors, is global, and most of it is issued in limited fixed supply. Tokens or coins are vessels. They're holders for value. We discussed this in the last lesson, calling money a store of value, like bottling up and sealing our work, our time, to spend later. So let's say that we have 6 jars in a box. Each of them is a token or a holder of value of sorts. If we have a total of $12 in the box, and we divide it evenly, each jar can hold $2. 2 times 6, right? Now let's say that a bunch of people throw a total of $60 in that same box. Still have 6 jars. If we divide it evenly, each jar now holds $10. It's a fixed number of jars, holders, containers, having to hold an increasing amount of total money. So imagine that the total of all Bitcurrency is 100 containers, and people last year, before we as early adopters even arrived, put $100,000 in the box. Each jar or token would hold $1,000. You get it. The real numbers are bigger, but the idea is the same. Let's just look at one coin, Bitcoin. There are about 17 million of them now, a fixed supply. And as of early 2018, interested people invested or contributed $137 billion into the box. And that means that each coin or token or jar was holding or was worth about $8,000. So here's the secret that might make you have a second look at this and inspire you to join our early adopter team. Ready? Today there's only about 2 to 3% of the population that know about or use Bitcurrency. Remember, this is unstoppable. The genie is out of the bottle. But timing-wise, it is so very, very early. Bitcurrency today is like the internet in 1997, when about 70 million people, or about 2% of the world, was connected. Today in 2018, about 55%, or 4.1 billion users, are online. You know how pervasive it is. Just look around you. So an important point is that transferring our value storage from traditional banking, where we have no control, to a vessel, a holder like Bitcurrency that you own, is probably a pretty wise move. Aside from Bitcurrency being sound money and a store of value for our labor and savings, each unit of Bitcurrency is part of a fixed, finite supply. A supply in the Internet of Money that will be poised to receive 4 billion users in the next 20 years, if Internet growth is our model. I personally think it will grow faster. Half of the world currency is conservatively $100 trillion. That's 100 with 14 zeros. I'll have you do the math of how that might fit into a few million units, or even a few billion units of Bitcurrency. Let's just say that you might increase your initial early adopter before anyone else gets in, holding by 1,000 times, by 10,000 times, or by 100,000 times, or more. No promises. This isn't investment advice. Just an invitation to join our team of early adopters at the right time, for free. So you be the judge. As this lesson is called, you decide. And I invite you to decide soon, and to decide to be an early adopter of Bitcurrency with me and with our team. For the freedom, for the control, the responsibility, and perhaps some life-changing profit along the way. Finally, my choice to create this free training was an offshoot of introducing all of my family to Bitcurrency at the holiday season last year. I wrote up an extensive manual and user guide for them to follow so that I wouldn't have to repeat myself too much. And this manual was revised and ultimately published on Amazon as the book, Buying Bitcoin, which is available for just a few dollars, covering production costs. It's available in either Kindle or softcover. And there's a link below for each one. I intend these 5 lessons, however, to be a complete course, but I know that Some of you are overachievers, or you like to hold a book in your hand, so I'm just giving you that option. On to the next lesson, O, to own, where if you've decided, I'll show you how to get started owning and using Bitcurrency. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave comments, and to share. And I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. O, owning Bitcoin. Thanks.